learned in a few minutes, my life has forced me into a very introverted path. Often afraid of judgment and ridicule, I kept my story quiet, and besides my Nana, writing to a piece of paper was the only place I could find solace in my thoughts and words. The following is something I wrote with no intention of it being heard, but tonight I will share a few thoughts into a mind and life significantly altered by the impacts of drugs without ever personally doing them. In my heart, I need to make sense. I need answers that I will never get. I will wander the rest of my days with questions unasked, a constant emptiness that will fill my soul. No matter the substitute, it can never complete because the disease of addiction sealed our fate. Memories of eulogies tear up my night, falling like raindrops, blurring up my sight. I know that pressure must have weighed a ton, but how could you not think of our mom, me, or your son? The addiction, so powerful and all-encompassing, the constant devil on your shoulder, preying on your weakest moments. It's never enough, and your last time is never the last. He will push and pull until he gets his way, corrupting your thoughts, convincing you it's okay. Just one more time, he will say. As the needle pierced your rugged skin, feelings of euphoria glanced overhead, but before you both knew it, you were dead. As I rest my head down each night onto my pillow, the feeling of hope overwhelms my soul. The thoughts of peace dance with dreams, and the simple promises of a new day lure me to excitement. However, I awoke this morning to the familiar sound of the phone ringing. I quickly realized that my dreams were not my reality. Knowing far more about pain than peace, I struggled to answer. The words on the other end are mumbled in agony, but it matters not the spoken words, because all I can hear are the sounds of a broken heart crying out for help. Realizing my visions of hope were still only dreams, the optimism for a brighter day that I once had transforms into survival. I breathe deep, place one foot in front of the other, and take one step at a time. No step too far for fear of my feet giving away underneath my shaky knees. My life has been a series of phone calls, each drastically altering the course of the life I had once envisioned. Whether it was during my midterms of my freshman year of college informing me my older brother was arrested for serious crimes, my younger brother calling me as my parents away on vacation to come to court, only to arrive to see him bloodied and beaten from the impacts of the police batons, finding out my father had terminal brain cancer, or the two most recent phone calls informing me both of my brothers have passed from drug overdoses. Each call as devastating as the last, each leaving a path of destruction that left me breathless, emotionally drained, and when you thought it couldn't get worse, you quickly realized it could. There is no stability amongst a life that is filled with constant uncertainty. The first few phone calls hit like Tyson, buckling my knees and sending my stomach into a maze of twists and knots. As the phone calls continued through each passing year, my reactions calmed. The tears were saved for periods of isolation. Expectations for my own life turned, and reality set in. There was no normal, there was no escape, only lost hope and empty dreams that were reflected in the tears I would see gently running down my face. I remember the first time when I heard my older brother was smoking weed. A classmate of mine told me they saw him smoking in the woods with the other kids in the neighborhood. I vividly recall the feeling of disappointment I felt. As the years passed by and behavior steadily increased, I had many encounters with people who would consistently inform me of my siblings' wrongdoings. The feelings I felt changed as I grew more and more helpless to the decisions they were making. Disappointment grew into sadness, anger, and then withdrawal. As a sibling to those who were so heavily involved in poor decision-making, a life of drugs and crime, I was burdened before even those around me knew the severity. You see, as a sibling, as somebody who grew up arm in arm with these two, they were my best friends, my only true friends for as long as I could remember. There was a deep bond that forced me to make exceptions and excuses. Brother of siblings who are making poor decisions, the feeling is so unique. Unlike your parents who are fighting and scraping to keep your family afloat, you are trying to ride that fine line between love and hate. They're your equals, so you want to fight them, hurt them the same way they are hurting you, the way they are hurting your parents. But you want to protect them and shield them from the potential consequences. So events go unreported, undocumented, and as each event snowballs into larger and larger events, the life around you falls further and further out of control. I feel as a sibling it can be a much lonelier path than most people are aware of. As a sibling, there's so much autonomy, a feeling of a need to protect. You don't want to talk about it with your friends, coaches, teachers, for fear of judgment. After all, my parents were good people. So there's an obvious assumption that's made by most there must be a reason why my brothers ended up with this tragic fate. The hiding and the secretive nature weighs heavily, impacting my ability to have productive relationships with friends, girlfriends, coworkers. I spent most of my late adolescence and young adulthood keeping a safe distance away from those closest to me. In a very simplistic manner, we are who the world thinks we are. If we are smiling, we must be happy. If we are crying, we must be sad. But in a life constantly filled with an array of emotions, it does not serve us to be so transcendent. It does not benefit us to show our true emotions. If people saw or felt the discomfort I felt on a day-to-day basis, who would be there? Who could understand? Instead, I learned to mask a portrayal of self that is nothing short of a Shakespearean masterpiece, ducking and dodging questions, relationships, and feelings too struggle to piece together our days. Who am I, how I feel, is often never reflected in what the world sees. The impact of drugs has the power to transcend negativity into a loneliness as impactful to those surrounding the addict as to the actual addict themselves. As a sibling, the truth remains is we are far more observant and knowledgeable than one could ever imagine. We have information on both sides. We hear the conversations, fights, and disagreements amongst our parents, while still collecting information about our siblings through personal conversations with them or throughout our extended social circle. We are built ground level. We are constantly eye to eye with the devil amongst us. We see the judgment in school from teachers or adults in the community. I know that specifically the community we lived in and even extended family members have many negative judgments to make about my family. I remember those who wronged us. I remember the feelings of hurt and isolation. I can explicitly recall the sadness of my parents when they lost friends, or seeing the tears in my father's eye when he was too embarrassed to reach out anymore. As a sibling who had never done drugs, it was amazing to see the sheer terror and impact destructive decisions can have on one family. It was an empty feeling knowing that your parents were embarrassed of their children, knowing you were one of their children, knowing the good I did could never outweigh the bad they did. I don't know what it's like to be addicted to pills or any other drugs, but I've experienced firsthand the power of something that kills. We live in a society that's so judgmental and hasty. We offer limited support, but will leap at the first signs of transgressions, tearing apart people and situations without ever knowing the depth of their being. I often wonder what it would be like to live a life where judgment is so easy, where I could tear people apart or situations simply by reading a police report or a news article. For me, I'm forced to look through an empathetic lens, through a lens that has been molded by life experiences far beyond my own family's expectations. The stories, the trauma, the sadness and tears will always exist in some part of me. You see, with most stories like mine, the story wasn't written overnight. It was never one decision. It was never one bad moment, but a collection of decisions and moments that slowly altered the course of my life. To many, my brothers may be troublemakers, criminals, or junkies, but to me, they are just my brothers. You see, as a family, we were not ignorant to our reality, but just trying to do with the best with what we had. As a brother, it forced me to take an unjudgmental eye, while others spewed their negative opinions on me and my family. I unequivocally defended them no matter my personal stance. I remember the long talks, warm embraces, but most importantly, the feeling that I always had two people who had my back regardless of the situation. Now that I think of battling the world on my own, it's truly an overwhelming thought, an emptiness that can't be filled, a gravity of loss that can't be understated or even understood. I no longer fear judgment or ridicule. I no longer entertain that your others' opinions have any power over me. I embrace my stories as others will embrace theirs. I forgive my brothers for their embattled years, and I will miss them for the potential they can never fulfill. Despite life's struggles, I will end this day as I ended each day before. I will again rest my head on my pillow with only one thing in mind. Tonight is another night, occupying my dreams of tomorrow filled with hope. Thank you.